The most obvious thing to do right now in the middleweight division, in my opinion, is for there to be an immediate rematch between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. Anything else, I feel, would be a disrespect to what we witnessed 1 week ago, which was an all-out war between two fantastic competitors. And Sean Strickland, as we all know, was on the wrong end of a split decision. Fun fact for you guys, every single time that he has lost in the past 5 years has been him on the wrong end of a split decision, with the exception of the KO he received from Alex Pereira. Anyway, so that's what I think absolutely needs to happen. However, I feel like if there is a rematch, it is going to be a disaster for Sean Strickland. In the comments, please let me know what you think in terms of who comes out on top versus Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis in their rematch. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ultimate Punching, the Ultimate MMA channel. I want to thank you guys for stopping by, and if you wouldn't mind, before we start the video, if you could hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps me grow the channel. I was there live. I thought Dricus Du Plessis did enough to win. When I watched it back, I was leaning more towards Sean Strickland. An incredibly competitive fight between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. It was divided down the middle, huge amount of controversy. So many people thought that Sean won. So many people thought that Dricus won. And out of all the potential matchups at middleweight, this is the one I would want to see again most before anything else happens. Now, that probably isn't going to happen. We're probably going to see Izzy versus DDP at some point in the near future. Sean's probably going to fight somebody else. I don't know who. Maybe Hamza, maybe the winner of Robert Whittaker, Paul Costa. I am not sure. What I will say is that I think if they are to rematch, I think the second time around, Dricus Du Plessis does even better against Sean Strickland than he did the first time. Why do I think that? Well, if you listen to some of the commentary that a lot of his training partners and people in the gym have said about what it's like to spar and deal with Sean Strickland, the first time you ever spar the guy, the first time you ever fight the guy, all of them say that you feel like an amateur and that you don't belong in the gym because he has such an awkward style. The Philly shell, the jab comes from a place that you're not expecting, the way he moves, the way he parries everything. He only has like 2 or 3 techniques that he uses over and over and over and over, right? And so a lot of people say, I think Chris Curtis is one of them, he always says that like people who go in and they spar with Sean for the first time, they do terribly, right? They look like amateurs. They look like they don't belong there. But then when they fight him a second time, third time, fourth time, every single time they get considerably better. They have considerably better luck, right? When fighting Sean Strickland, because they're used to him. They're used to, what's going to hurt them, what's not, what's coming, because he only has those sort of 2-3 different techniques that he uses. It becomes a lot easier for them to read. So my thinking is that if Sean Strickland rematches Dricus Du Plessis, the second time around when they fight, Dricus is going to have kind of downloaded all that information from their first time together, right? How he's going to handle that jab, how he's going to pressure, how, all the different things that he's going to do. And he's going to be able to come up with a game plan that's even more effective against Sean Strickland the next time around. So the question is, if I'm Sean Strickland, how do I manage that, right? How would Sean Strickland come back and get a win if there's a rematch, right? Because let's make no mistake, Sean Strickland is the people's champion. When I was there in Toronto, everybody was cheering his name. There were a few people who wanted DDP to win, but for the most part, the crowd was on the side of Strickland. And if you look at a lot of the comments on YouTube and social media, the crowd is on the side of Strickland. They want him to come back and be champion. He is the people's champion. So how does he come and face Dricus Du Plessis? Once again, we've got those kind of 3 weapons. The jab, the cross, a little bit, that front kick from time to time, checking, and really solid defense. So is Sean Strickland going to be able to make those adjustments for when he comes back to fight Dricus the next time, if there even is a next time? No matter what, I think we all have to admit that the UFC, unfortunately, seems to be sleeping on the star power of Sean Strickland. That's what I think is happening, right? Because the guy went from being sort of a heel in the 185-pound division to the biggest underdog ever in the history of the division to creating probably the biggest upset in the history of the 185-pound division. I don't know if that's true, but that's just what I'm thinking. To fighting a really close fight, to becoming the people's champion, to saying things that so many people are thinking, to being that unapologetic guy. But he never changed. He's always been himself. And so the UFC probably look at the numbers in terms of what kind of attraction this guy brings and what kind of star power, what kind of all these other type of things he brings to the table. And they're probably going to look at him and say, hey, you know what? We need this guy to be champion again, right? We want him to be champion again. But the problem is he has no filter, right? So his demeanor is not palatable for sponsors, right? He wouldn't hesitate to go after Bud Light. He wouldn't hesitate to go after other sponsors if they do stuff that, doesn't align with him, right? So that's kind of where I'm looking at this. Does the UFC go in and say, hey, you know what, we're going to try to, maybe filter this guy a little bit because he's going to sell pay-per-views. People want to tune in to see Sean Strickland. Or do they just sort of say, you know what, let's let it ride in the rematch? Dricus is going to get the job done, and then we kind of move on. Because there are other potential stars at 185, right? There's Khamzat coming up. There's the match with Izzy between him and Dricus. There's Paulo Costa versus Robert Whittaker. That's in the works. There's some killers coming up like Ikram Aliskerov. Who's the guy who just whooped Paul Craig? He's fighting Marvin Vettori next. Brendan Allen, right? So there's a lot of potential guys. Roman Dolidze, he's pretty good too. So there's lots of stuff going on in the middleweight division. That makes it really exciting. So it could just be one of these things where Sean just keeps on fighting until he's not. But I think it would be an absolute tragedy if we don't see that rematch between Sean Strickland and Dricus Du Plessis. But all in all, I still think that if they fight again, unless Sean Strickland can come with something that Dricus hasn't seen from him before, which may be to his detriment, I think that Dricus's second performance against Sean Strickland will be even better than his first, and he will get a either unanimous decision win or get the finish. Thank you guys for watching.